Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, members and guests of the FCC. Welcome. We're going to get started with our very much anticipated talk, in-depth conversations with Felix Kwok. With that, I want to give a couple of logistics tips for you. We're going to have a presentation. Felix is going to walk us through some of the amazing arts and track record he had built over the years of his career, and including some world records arts from China and Vietnam, as well as the most anticipated and also coinciding with an exhibition going on soon this week, M+, the Picasso work. And we're going to do a really brief introduction. After his presentation, we're going to start Q&A sessions. I will start off asking a few questions, but I hope to capture all the questions from the floor, leaving plenty of time and answering every single question you may have for not only the art market in Hong Kong, but across the world, but more importantly with Felix. So I'm going to do a brief introduction, and we've been looping some of his introduction work. I won't go into detail and focus on really Felix's world record career in setting the auction for Picasso starting 2018. He has set the Asia's record 7 out of 8 pieces for Picasso. And then from China master and as well as the Vietnam master, he set the world record twice. So I won't go into detail as I'm actually a journalist governor and writes for Block Win News, and I'm a tech reporter, and so I feel really inadequate in front of you guys. But however, there will be a section we're going to talk about the unprecedented issuance of an NFT by famous director Wong Kar-wai. So I'm going to probably focus on that and take myself the embarrassing moments of asking anything about specific arts and art market. So with that, please do continue to enjoy your meal, and we're going to have dessert and other things. So Felix is a registered auctioneer of China and the former head of modern arts for Sotheby's Asia, where he organized world auction records for Asia and Chinese modern art, post-war art. So pay attention, it's going to see plenty of that. With a strong vision in arts and culture development across Asia and global market. We're going to also talk about his career and post his long stint at Sotheby. And he's going to be doing a lot of amazing work, and you're going to see some slides about the upcoming exhibition as well. And so he's dedicated to art advisory service going forward, and we look forward to hearing from him about that. I'm going to step up the stage and lead the really detailed presentation with Felix. So let's give a big hands of applause for welcoming Felix to the stage. Go ahead, and you want to tell us what should we expect in the next few of 30 minutes or so?
First of all, Happy New Year. Good afternoon, my new friends, old friends, and thank you very much, Joe, for organizing such a beautiful noontime for us to be here in FCC. This is really my first time to speak in FCC and share with you as an ex-Sotheby's man in a public occasion. So in the coming 30, 40 minutes, we're going to go through something really exciting because we all know that in this week, M+ is going to open with the latest Picasso museum exhibition in collaboration with the Museo Picasso in Paris. And I will share with you that what I and my team have done as early as in 2018, that we brought the first Picasso oil painting to Asia in the Sotheby's Hong Kong auction. And then in the past few years, especially during the COVID time, from 2021 to 2024, we together built the top 7 records in Asia with Picasso. I mean, before my departure until now, we are still holding 7 out of the top 8 records in Picasso, except number 2. And then we will also go through something really exciting. If you are movie lovers, I'm sure you like Wong Kar-wai, and I'll tell you a little bit about the behind the scene of the collaboration between the groundbreaking collaboration between Sotheby's and Wong Kar-wai, why we work together, how we mint the Wong Kar-wai NFT in 2021, and we made In the Mood for Love. And NFT pieces. And I will tell you a little bit more about Vietnamese art, Chinese abstract art, and I hope you would enjoy my presentation.
All right, let's start with that.
All right, there we go. So thank you very much, Joe. So if you don't mind, I want to stand and speak. As an auctioneer, is always feeling more comfortable to stand and enjoy some time with my friends. So my name is Felix Kwok. I have spent 13 years with Sotheby's, and 3 months ago, I just left my company, so now I am on my own. I'm an ex-Sotheby's man, and this is the first time that I share with my friends in a public occasion about what I and my team have been doing in the auction world, not just in Sotheby's. In the past 13 years, especially in the past 4 years, I would say we really worked very hard to make Hong Kong a real trading platform of international modern art. So I would say 60 years ago, when we talk about the art market or collecting art scene in Hong Kong, it's very much about traditional Chinese art, Chinese paintings, Chinese works of arts. We talk about Hollywood Road, are mainly antique dealers. And then from 1980s, 1990s, there is a first batch of modern and contemporary art galleries in Hong Kong, in Central. And then starting from the millennium, probably after SARS, international auction houses began to consciously operate modern contemporary auctions, which is a more regional concept in terms of art trading in Hong Kong. And then in the past 15 years, I would say Hong Kong really soared to an international level as one of the top international market, together with London, New York, and we trade and exchange the most important paintings in the modern contemporary sense. So, but very much when we talk about in the first 10 years, I mean, from around 2010 to 2020, we are very much talking about modern and contemporary Chinese Asian art. In 2018, I remember I have entered a more mature stage as a specialist. So I began to receive the support, the travel budget, by my company, which is willing to send me to Europe for sourcing. And I remember the first time my boss, who was the former head of Modern, she told me that, Felix, I'm going to give you one economy class ticket. If you go to Milan and bring us some really good paintings, I will get you a premium economy for the next time. And then I'll get your business class. Okay, so I'm going to get my Cathay Pacific Diamond class version, right? So in my first travel to Milan, I remember it was 2017, October, November. I knew nobody in Milan except my regional colleagues in the Sotheby's office in Milan. I did all the cold calls. I tried to speak English, and most of the Italian galleries speak like Italian English. So we basically communicate in, whatever way, maybe on the phone, but we talk in body language. It's really exciting, really experimental, adventurous, and I love Italy. I mean, I think after my first trip, I don't have to bring any cash because I think Italian will fit me really well. And they not just fit me really well with my stomach, but they also fit my consignment getting trip really well as well. So I remember the most important meeting in Italy it was meeting a collector's family of 3 generations. So grandfather, father, son. When I speak to this family, I really can't remember what language we use. They don't really speak English. I don't speak Italian at all. And then I think most of the time we just guess and use body language to communicate. But they like me very much. And the most important conversation we had was the family really liked me, like a very young, passionate guy with a lot of interest, curiosity in Italy. I want to study more about the relationship between Chinese and Italian post-war artists. And then after a very pleasant conversation, they said, hey, Felix, I know you want to come and hunt some Chinese Italian painting back to Hong Kong, but please look after some of our Western masters. They still want to be, offered in Hong Kong. And then I asked, what do you mean? Why don't you try to bring a Western master, say Picasso, to Hong Kong? And then my head was like, boom, are you serious? And then he said, what are you talking about? I'm really serious. And then the father go back to the room, and then in 30 seconds, he come back with this painting, that small, boom, in front of me. So this is my first encounter of this Picasso painting. And he said, hey, Felix, if you're ready to sell it, I'm ready to give it to you. You have everything. It is published. It is really nice. It's never traded in auction house. And I even get your export license. Wow, sounds ideal, right? And then I, carefully recorded everything. And then of course, I didn't physically brought it to Hong Kong, but I brought this information to my senior management in Hong Kong that time. And I said, hey, boss, I'm not only bringing the Chinese Italian oil paintings, but I'm bringing real world master from Milan to Hong Kong. So this is a real opportunity. And then you know the answer? What are you doing, Felix? I want you to get Chinese oil painting, not a Western masterpiece, okay? I'm completely confused. And then after a long conversation, my boss was 50% convinced. And then she spoke to her boss, who was the CEO of Sotheby's. And then unexpectedly, I think I stirred up some sort of conversation, unfriendly conversation between London, New York, and Hong Kong, because they're feeling that Hong Kong is trying to steal the big steak from their plate to Hong Kong. And then to keep the long story short, I'm very thankful to my boss and my CEO at that time. I think they kind of fixed it. So I finally brought it to Hong Kong. So at that time, I was quite surprised that bringing Picasso to Hong Kong, it's not such a big credit, not just within the company, but also in front of the client. Because at that time, I remember in the March of 2018, when I really brought it to Hong Kong, it was really a stage that Chinese, Asian modern masters are soaring to the peak of the market. Also, in terms of academic recognition, they're soaring to the peak. And clients are not really ready to acquire a Picasso painting. So unlike nowadays, a few years later, everybody is looking for, they're expecting a Picasso being offered in a Hong Kong auction. But as early as in 2018, which is not too many years ago, they are not ready. They don't know how to get along with a Picasso painting in front of a group of Zhang Daqian, Zhao Wuqi, San Yu, Le Faux, because they think that they're sitting on world-class Asian modern masters, but how do their Asian modern pieces to be in conversation with Western masters? They are not yet synced. They don't know what is the relationship between them, though later on I and my team together come up with a very strong statement that they really speak to one another, and it is also part of the curatorial statement of the M+ show, right? M+ show of Picasso is given the name of Picasso in conversation with Asia. So this is kind of from the commercial world to the academic world, we are trying to put together a very similar statement. But back to 2018 is kind of beginning, and we have a little struggle. However, this painting sold really quite well, and it was published in the art newspaper in 2018 March issue, so it is in the corner. And then it finally went to 1 million US. So after that initial success, 1 million US is not an astronomer's number, but it's a very good start. I think we proved that Hong Kong could really sell a really good Picasso painting, regardless of size. We did the academic research, we do all the marketing, and then we sold for a good result. Comparing to London and New York, it's still quite on a similar level. And then in 2018, October, we sold another Picasso. And then we have a pause. The pause was mainly because I wasn't appointed the head of modern yet. I was a senior specialist. So very much I need a lot more continuous support from my senior management and my head of department at that time. But she was a great specialist who has a strong interest in promoting Chinese modern and Asian modern, but for Western, probably not too ready for her yet. So the real adventure of Picasso in Hong Kong and Asia began in the COVID time. My appointment as head of modern in Sotheby's is quite an accident. It's a surprise because my boss left Sotheby's out of a sudden, and then I was appointed head of modern like in a few hours. So it's an accidental appointment, big surprise, and then I and my former colleagues, one of my very fine members is sitting here to accompany me for today's talk. We were like in COVID, the entire Sotheby's modern team, it's, one post-1980s plus a group of post-1990s young ladies, and then we were like sitting on an escape boat, and we need to sold, guess what, 2 billion Hong Kong in year 2021. So this is our target. So we were excited, nervous, confused, but I know as a leader, I really need to figure out. Especially for this Picasso, really marks the beginning of my journey as a leader in the auction platform, because I need to tell everyone what I want to do. It's not just about selling how much money every year in every single sale, but about the statement as an expert, what I try to bring to Asia, what I try to bring to my collectors with new insight. So before my appointment, my former bosses has consecutively built the strong credential of Chinese modern masters. So I wouldn't take the credit of building the world record of Zawuki by Sotheby's in 2018 at 538 million Hong Kong dollars as my personal contribution, because this is my predecessor's success, her achievement. And I don't think in my career time I could break that record at all. So still, I couldn't. So I need to do something to tell the market, to tell our collectors, to tell our community, when Asian modern masters, in terms of commercial value, has reached these world record level, what's next? So I'm feeling that, the wheel of history comes to my hand, and I need to do something to bring the Western system and the Asian system together. Let them talk on the auction platform. So bringing Impressionist and Western modern masters to Hong Kong become my mission, which is beyond my commercial target. This is mission as a specialist. When we talk about Zawuki, it's the most recognized Chinese master in the Western art scene. What did he do? He was a colleague of Picasso in 2 galleries from Paris to New York. They signed the same gallerist, they signed the same gallery. Picasso brought the young Zawuki to his studio and called him Petit Chien Noir and showed him every painting. When we talk about these beautiful legends, we want to prove it in the auction house. I want to place a Zawuki, I want to place a Picasso together, and then in the next round, I want to place a Picasso and a Sanyu together because they were friends before World War II broke out. This is what we try to do, the storytelling. So this Matador became my real big project that we sold the first Picasso over 100 million Hong Kong dollars. Okay, and I have to thank my honorable competitor, because I remember when I first appointed the head of modern, I think in 2 weeks, our major competitor, Christie's, announced a really important Sanyu painting. And that it is like a big gift to my appointment, because in that afternoon, I think my cell phone in the office, everybody come ask me why this Sanyu painting went to Christie's. And this painting was sold by Sotheby like 7 years ago. You know, I have completely no idea. But then, I think I closed the door, shut the door. Rishika, you're sitting outside, okay? I shut the door. I sit in my room, my new room, for around 3 hours. I ignore all the messages, and I told myself, hey, Felix, this is the time to make a decision. You want to get smashed by a competitor in the first round, or not even the first round really began, or you want to fight back? And then after some sort of reflection, I opened the door, and I'm feeling that I was reborn. This is the beginning of my head of modern. You know, I am the general, I'm the marshal. I have a team I have to look after. I have some value to uphold, and I need to bring a strong answer to my competitors, you know, greeting. So I remember there was a Picasso inside the storage of Sotheby's Hong Kong. Initially, it was sent to Hong Kong for private sale, and then COVID broke out. Nobody could ship it back, so it is always in the storage for around a year. And then I was thinking, probably I could get this painting into auction with what we call the third-party guarantee. That's why I need to sell this painting before I put it into auction. I need to get an agreement signed with a consignor and a third-party guarantor who would say, okay, I'm ready to pay you a certain amount, but above that, if you sell this above that price, I would take a share. And then I spoke to my most important client, whom I have known for more than 10 years, but never did any business with me. But I know he's more than capable. Miraculously, it was in AMC. I spoke to him, and he said, okay, this Picasso looks interesting. And I think I can underwrite it. Okay. And then in 2 weeks, we signed it, and then we put it into auction, and then we sold it with strong competition. So the final price goes to 139 million Hong Kong dollars, which is way above the guarantee value. My client make money. My buyer is really happy, is now in her study. And everybody is happy. So this is my statement. But if we are just talking about money, we are not fully utilizing this opportunity. What we try to do is to create a dialogue and let everybody know the true history between Picasso and the Asian master who really spent their time in Paris. So in this show we call Icons, we put the most iconic masterpieces together. From the first sight, it looks a little bit random, but there's a storyline. So there's a Picasso. Right next to that, there's a pre-World War II Chinese modern master, Sanyu. So they literally knew one another, and Sanyu actually wrote an essay to defend Picasso in 1942 in a French newspaper. Zhang Daqian, on the left-hand side of the Sanyu, they are both Sichuanese, so they both like spicy food. And they actually knew one another as early as in pre-World War I period. And in 1950s, when Zhang Daqian went to Paris for a show, for his solo, he invited Sanyu to design the catalog cover for him. On the far left-hand side, there's a small sculpture. It's a Giacometti. Giacometti lived on the same street as Sanyu do. So they're neighbors. All right? So last but not least, on the far right-hand side, you see a Song Buddhist sculpture. When Zhang Daqian went to Paris and did his solo, he hadn't really invented his abstract language yet. So what he brought to Paris was actually the Dunhuang Grotto-inspired Buddhist painting. There we go. This is our statement. We're trying to bring all these masterpieces across time and spaces together with just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 works. So this is what we really try to do. And the result was beautiful. Solid academic research result in strong commercial result. So it gave us a lot more confidence to continue with our Picasso journey. And then after this Matador Picasso, we received this beautiful self-portrait-like portrait of a man. And this time we curated it in a completely different way. The first time is rather academic. This time we go pop. So this is sold under the creative curation, under the collaboration between Sotheby and Jay Chow, the Mando pop singer. So under Jay's curation, he put Basquiat, Picasso, everything together, and then we built our showroom like a New York underground station. So this is like completely fun, exciting, sexy, hot. And I remember during the opening, it is during COVID, but everybody put on their mask but dressed up like really well. And then we attended the opening party. Fortunately, no infection. And then it was 2021, so everything, 3 Picasso in 1 year, okay? So the third Picasso still holds the current record of the artist in Asia. It is, I would say, a real art historically important portrait of Jacqueline Roque, who is the second wife who accompanied the artist till the end of his life. So 1954 is probably the most important year of the artist after World War II, when he painted the most important series, Femme d'Alger, sorry for my French. And this painting is one of the early prototype of that series. So he's painting his beloved wife, and he's reinventing the artistic appearance with his language. And finally, it sold for 191 million Hong Kong dollars. And then in probably 3 weeks later, Christie sold another Jacqueline Roque in New York in exactly the same dimension, 93 by 72. Almost the same year, I remember 1954, 1955, just in different attire. And then both paintings sold at exactly the same price. I think it's a strong proof that we can do Western masterpiece at the top price on par with New York or London. So I think this is the capacity of Hong Kong. It finally went to a very important collector. Okay. So that one was a great achievement, but this one is something I will never forget in my life, because in 2022, April, with 1, 2, 3 consecutive success in Hong Kong, we are much more confident to get business on the Western masterpieces. But at the same time, if we still remember, by the end of 2021, Omicron is making a mess in the city. So the entire city almost closed down, and we even lost the Hong Kong Convention Center as our auction venue. So we need to do our preview, probably the only time, in Padda Building. And then at that time, London, New York is recovering quickly from COVID, and the door is reopened in London and New York. So Western consignor had much less reason to consign a masterpiece to Hong Kong. So we are facing new challenges. What we do? I made an insane guarantee promise. I don't know why I convinced my company. I don't know why my company took my advice. that the company will underwrite this Picasso with the company's money. I remember, it's an astronomous number. I remember in a virtual meeting, we have 15 specialists. I'm one of them. Out of these 15 specialists, 14 of them gave a number like 30% lower than the number asked by the seller. And then after a long discussion, all that 14 pairs of eyes stared at me on the screen, saying that, Felix, this is Hong Kong, this is your game. You drive it, you make a decision whether or not you pay this high guarantee. If you don't sell it, the company has to pay it. And I think this would be the end of my career. And it will be still unsold. It won't be seen as sold. And I don't know why. I just say, okay, we'll do it. And then I think the entire global Impressionist and Modern team went sleepless for more than a month. And until the evening before our evening sale, all the global specialists went mad. They were crazily calling their clients to support, to underwrite, to take a look at this painting. But all the conversations weren't successful. But I do have a client who showed interest in this painting, so I'm kind of relieved. And I have a lot more headaches with the Wu Guanzhong, the rest of the major pieces in the cell. Surprisingly, during the auction, I thought I would be the one who win. And then while I was ready for the pose, take me a handsome picture and I'm holding a paddle, someone on my left-hand side suddenly came in and beat me. And then I got beaten in that moment. I asked, who the hell are you? Because all these ultra premium price paddle need prior approval, and I would always be the one of the person who say yes. And then my mind going back with my memory, who approved this? And I just suddenly discovered that right before the auction began, when I was fixing my paddle, really in a mess, someone came in and say, hey, Felix, there's a telephone bid coming in from Tokyo office. And then everything's fixed. So we're just here to notice you that there will be another phone bid on this Picasso. And then this bid beat me. And then after the entire auction, I'm still a little bit confused. What happened? And then we just discovered that there is a Japanese collector who came in, who bought this painting, and then in 1 week, all set, payments done. And then he brought the painting back to Japan. And then we discovered that there was actually a Picasso exhibition going to take place in Japan, and we believe that it should be one of the pieces that they are missing. So that client bought that painting. Well, I think this is the most satisfying defeat. I'm happy to be beaten because someone's going higher even than I am. And then it was sold. At that time, it was the Asia number 2. Now it is Asia number 3 in terms of the record. Then there's another one coming in with Christie's in 2 months. So after these few cases, we are also learning how to do the storytelling. Because at the very beginning, we tried to adopt the Western storytelling, having a Western specialist to talk about the Picasso story, how he created it, how he was inspired. Though we sold the painting still pretty well, the overall comments in terms of impression, it's not that good because they're feeling that we have no local creativity, there's not enough storytelling, there's not enough association between the personal sentiment between Asian collectors and the painting, because they're always feeling that there's someone standing between the audience and the painting. So actually in 2021, we had the legendary collaboration with Wong Kar-wai. So Master Wong not just collaborated with Sotheby's on his auction, but I think as the team who worked really closely with Wong Kar-wai when he was filming Blossom Shanghai, where we were doing calls every early morning and late evening, he really told us what is storytelling. So by learning from aside, we began to reinvent how we do with our storytelling in a more touching way. So after that, I think from the beginning of Dorama, we try to use the Wong Kar-wai movie language to produce our marketing video. So the Dorama, we tried to create, when I spoke to my video producer, I said, okay, come on, let's produce a marketing video like a Korean love story. Painful, tragic, torture, something like that. And then in October 2022, this is another portrait of Picasso's second wife, Jacqueline Rowe. So this time it's completely different because the romance is completely different. So this time I want sugary, drama. I want to show, big, powerful CEO loving his young, pretty, sweet secretary, something like that. Okay? So this time we produce a completely different life story, and our audience could really enjoy the real situation of how Picasso created this painting. And you can see it's a much sweeter setting. And then this one is a François Gilles. So if you go to M+, you will be seeing exactly another Gilles. This is different. So this painting actually is talking about the story. Gilles is sitting on a chair, like sitting in the throne. And in fact, out of the so many relationships between Picasso and his muses, Gilles is the only lady who could dump Picasso. So now I want a movie like 大女主, big, major female character in the story. So every single time we invent a completely different plot in our marketing video, in our storytelling, so that people could really understand how Picasso moved on, make progress with the inspiration of different relationships and romances. And I think it really brought us a lot of success, recognition. People are now getting more and more used to be seeing a Picasso, not just talking about the historical relationship between Picasso and the Asian master, but at the same time, they're paying attention on Picasso's own lifetime and career. Last but not least, this is the last Picasso we sold in Hong Kong in early 2024, which is last year. So this time, after selling a few portraits of the Picasso muses, we think we should change the subject matter, and this time we got a self-portrait-like painter's portrait, which is painted in the almost final stage of the career of the artist. So this time we have the opportunity to talk about Picasso himself, not just about the inspiration of his romances, but at the same time, now we can talk about how serious Picasso is putting himself into the hierarchy of modern masters, because you can see he's definitely wearing in his iconic shirt, but at the same time, he's putting on a hat, a Van Gogh-like straw hat. So it's actually not just talking about himself, but he's talking about the common destiny of modern painters. They're always on their own, they take the risk, they do whatever they want, but at the same time, they're also driving their own adventures. So this painting was also sold quite well. It sold for exactly 10 million US. And then in terms of buyer, I can't tell you who is the buyer, but interestingly, go check it on Instagram. I hope it's still there. After the painting was sold, Jay Chow put a screen cap of this painting on the Instagram. I'm not saying the buyer. I'm not saying the buyer. I'm not talking about Instagram. Okay. So I think here is our journey of Picasso. And this is not just about Felix Kwok. It's not just about the modern team. It's not just about Sotheby's. I think this is about the entire Asia. Because after all these 7, 8 paintings, I have the first-hand knowledge of Picasso going to Indonesia, going to Hong Kong, going to Macau, going to Taiwan, going to mainland China, going to Japan. So it's an all-Asia achievement. Because we are not just creating market success, not just building Hong Kong together as an international modern trading platform, but at the same time, we're bringing back the value, how Asian modern contemporary system to speak to the Western modern contemporary system. I think this is what I feel I really did something with my very fine members in the past few years. So I know we need to move on. Wong Kar-wai, I'm sure everybody is interested to know Wong Kar-wai. In 2021, when we were busy selling Picasso, we're also working with Wong Kar-wai simultaneously because Wong Kar-wai is celebrating the 30th anniversary of his movie company called Jetone. It is the company that he produced most of his movies. And he wanted to do something. So we had a lot of conversation when we talk about Wong Kar-wai, Sotheby's. It sounds something big, something creative and inspiring. But how to execute it is a problem. So after a lot of conversation, we decided to do a retrospective auction to celebrate the anniversary of his movie company. So we sold his movie poster, which I personally took them off from his office, and he hand-signed it, and we frame it, put on a movie tag. And then we sold his movie props. Like this is something we really could see in the Wong Kar-wai movies, In the Mood for Love, 2046, Happy Together, we have everything there. Like unseen movie posters, film stills, so it's like once a lifetime experience that you want to get something. In addition, we put Leslie Cheung's DKNY Yellow Jacket, which Wong Kar-wai has kept for 25 years in pristine condition. I would say when I took it out from the cabinet, I feel really surprised that it looks like new. It's like everybody can wear it and go to the street and go out. I am surprised at how fine he kept all these movie props. And this is not exactly the case because most of the movie director would just, dispose all the movie props after they finish the movie. And then I think what really makes this collaboration unprecedented is we created probably the only Asian movie NFT which is offered in an international auction. It's not just about technology, it's about copyright issue. Because after the success of this In the Mood for Love NFT, I think we were approached by many different parties, movie directors, movie companies, and they want to do something similar. But then we discovered probably Mr. Wong is the only person in the planet world, on the planet Earth, could make this happen. Because there are many major movie directors, but they don't run the movie company. If they run the movie company, they might be a joint venture. If they are joint venture, there could be different copyrights of the movie stars, the props designer, the artistic director, and Wong Kar-wai get everything under his pipeline. So when he makes one signature, we have all the approval. But probably this is something that we cannot repeat in other major movie companies or movie directors' cases. So we get this done, we get this sold, and we set the Asian movie NFT record. And probably, from the point of 2025, it's probably the world movie NFT record because nothing is sold afterwards. And then when we talk about Picasso, when we talk about Wong Kar-wai, at the same time, we are still pushing ourselves really hard to glorify our Asian masters. So when we're selling the Picasso together with San Yu, we also created the world record of Chinese, French abstract master Chu Dek-chun at 229 million Hong Kong dollars. And it was sold together with the Picasso and the San Yu we mentioned just now. And also with Zhao Wuqi. Zhao Wuqi is going to do another major exhibition in M+ by the end of this year, so stay tuned. I'm also personally looking forward to further information about the exhibition. And then this one is the painting I mentioned that before I came to the role of head of modern, my former boss, who is probably the most amazing modern Chinese specialist, she sold this painting at 510 million Hong Kong. Wu Guanzhong, the favorite Chinese masters, where you can see his major works in Hong Kong Museum of Arts. So when I was selling the Dorama, actually there was another major headache of selling this over 100 million Hong Kong dollars painting. They are on display side by side in Petta Building. So every time when you go to the auction room, don't be surprised that all the specialists are having very, dark, stressed out face, because it is like every 6 months you have the final round of the Premier League. You are fighting a very tough battle. And then, last but not least, I think this is the most beautiful project that I do together with my colleagues, because besides Chinese masters, Western masters in Asia, we also pay a lot of attention in Southeast Asian masterpieces. And I believe that this, Rishika, how do I pronounce it? Portrait. But no, the name. The portrait de Mademoiselle Fong, it's the legendary collection coming from the Vietnamese-French model and an art collector. So this is coming from the major collection, and we created not only just one Vietnamese record, but in total we created 4 Vietnamese records. So when we're talking about Sotheby's from 2021 to 2024, we have sold 24 million, here, 24 million, 18 million, and then this one at, can we go back to the full screen? Thank you. Yep. And then 17.9 million and 12.2 million. So we hold the top 4 records of Vietnamese art. Our major competitor is still holding their Vietnamese record at the level of 10 million. I think this is a completely different strategy, because we are trying to promote Vietnamese art as global masters. That's why we tell collectors coming from different country regions of the world about the beauty, about the story, about the adventures of these Vietnamese masters. Whereas most of the auction houses, they are doing the homecoming strategy. They're selling Vietnamese painting to Vietnamese collectors. So they are saying that, okay, these are paintings coming from France, so bring it back to your home. But we're taking a different strategy. Of course, we're still doing this homecoming strategy to Vietnamese collector, but at the same time, we're trying to share this beauty, share this unleashed potential to Greater China collectors, Japanese collectors, and even impressionist Western collectors. So finally, we come up with the most beautiful moment of Vietnamese and Southeast Asian art category in the past few years. So I think this is the beauty. We're trying to be impartially promoting all the world masters, regardless of country, regardless of nationality. As long as they are good enough, we should be able to do our best to promote them on the best platform, which is Hong Kong. Oh, this is last but not least. So in 2022, I think this is one of the memorable projects I've handled as well. I was selling the estate of Sir Rembrandt Shaw. We thought this Chen Yifei painting would never come back to the market when it was sold in 1992, because Sir Rembrandt is definitely one of the wealthiest person in Asia, if not the world. And without the occasion of the Shaw estate would like to sell all the art collection to fund their charitable foundation, we would not be able to get this legendary Chen Yifei painting to the market after almost 30 years. And this painting should be displayed in April in Shanghai Pudong Museum in the Chen Yifei long-awaited retrospective after almost 20 years. So if you look at Little Red Book, if you see the advertisement, the video reels about the Chen Yifei exhibition, so probably you'll be seeing this very soon because I helped loan it to the museum exhibition through the estate. So a small advertisement time. Now I'm on my own. I've built my small personal boutique agency, and I'm as an independent curator. I'm working with different parties. So in a few days, I will be having 2 shows going to public. One show is I'm working in collaboration with 3812 Gallery, which is in Wyndham Street. And I'm going to do an exhibition called When Sheila Meets Beijing Opera Figure, a global modern contemporary master shows. So I'm basically doing what I'm really good at in Sotheby's, my auction platform, in a private selling exhibition way. So I'm very blessed that I have a lot of support by many private collectors. So I think I have brought the first Igong Sheila watercolor to Hong Kong, if not Asia. And then I'm, again, in conversation with San Yu, Zhao Wuqi, Chu Tekchun, many world modern masters. And the second show, which I was actually setting up this morning, I'm working with Wheelock in their building, 9th floor, their clubhouse called Peak Salon, on a 93-year-old post-war Chinese abstract master. Ho Kang is the name. He's a 93-year-old young boy. He's very healthy, very energetic. And he's coming to Hong Kong for a 3-month show. And we try to bring this master into Hong Kong and let Hong Kong understand the amazing career and lifetime story of this living master and celebrate his achievement. So I think I've run a little bit, but thank you very much for your time, and look forward to further exchange in the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you. So we can go on and on about all the amazing work, but let's get to some questions. So over the presentation, you heard 2 of the keywords that attracted me: storytelling over and over, and also a lot of unprecedented or world record. I mean, from a news standpoint, we want to get the best, get the most, or get the worst, and everything has to be the best or the worst in some way. And so that's what's eye-catching. I want to kind of look forward, and with one question, and I get to the floor. In Asia, what are the hot spots in Asia where you will be working, and maybe working with the collectors and getting the estate out? And so looking forward, what are some of the hot spots in Asia that you will be focusing on?
I think in Asia and in the world, people are looking for creativity. They are looking for excitement. They are looking for surprises. I think this is exactly why I am starting my new chapter of career with such a different platform. My company is called Art and Culture Exchange. So this is not a gallery. So this is not a private dealing agency. It's more like a partner of every sector out of the art market, art ecosystem. So I work together with gallery, auction house. I mean, not auction house for now. I'm still on non-compete. I'm working with galleries, fairs, private museums, foundations, and see what they need. And I provide art strategic support and create some new
if I may reveal a bit of your itinerary. I know you go to Taiwan quite a bit, and in our previous conversation, you described a little bit the difference between the collectors in mainland China, in Hong Kong, as well as Taiwan. Can you share a little bit of that?
Well, I would say the comparison between Hong Kong and Taiwanese collectors is a very interesting one. So when we talk about Taiwanese collectors, first of all, they're really cultured. They are collectors, but then becoming a collector doesn't mean that they only need good wealth, but they would also have high expectation of their knowledge. So if you speak to a real collector from Taiwan, usually they themselves are real experts. They know a lot more than we imagine. Whereas in Hong Kong, the interpretation of collectors could probably be different. I mean, the old school, the early collectors are very much the same. If we talk about Minqiu Society, the most established Chinese works of art collectors, they are all experts. But in terms of modern contemporary collectors, I think Hong Kong collectors are very used to professionalism. So if I trust Felix, I think I purchased a very important painting from you, I trust your expertise. So I pay you, you provide me first-class professional services, and I will trust you. I take you as my advisor. I can spare my time to do something else. I think this is one of the major differences.
In mainland China?
Mainland China, I would say, well, sometimes impulsive. I mean, it's a mix, because mainland China is a much broader concept. When we talk about Shanghai region, it's completely different from the Greater Bay Area region, and they're different from the Beijing region. So it's quite a broad spectrum. But in generally speaking, mainland Chinese collectors are spontaneous, passionate, and I would say fundamentally, they have a much stronger mission or vision to create the contemporary speaking right with their purchase, with the collection building.
Thank you. So I'm going to start calling questions and take it from the floor. Anyone would like to ask questions, please raise your hand and we'll get to you. There's one lady right there. Let's get the question.
Hi, Felix. I'm Venice from the local newspaper, Weibo. Yeah, you mentioned a lot about conversation between Asian and Western arts. So, the Chinese Two Sessions is ongoing, and the central government has laid out a lot of new expectations for Hong Kong, particularly like boosting international exchanges and corporations. So as for auction industry or art market, do you think it can help Hong Kong to drive those global engagement, and how? And are we facing some challenges, and are there any support or policies it may need? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think Hong Kong, we all are collectively achieving this mission. If we look at the Victoria Harbour, I would say the Kowloon side is getting more and more solid and visible, that we have a coastal line of museum infrastructures. So we have Palace Museum, we have M+, we have the renovated Hong Kong Museum of Art, and we have Kai Tak Stadium as well, which is also part of the sports cultural programs of Hong Kong. So these are like the public side of Hong Kong as an East meets West bridge. And then on the Hong Kong side, we have, of course, the convention center. We have two headquarters of the major auction houses. We have Patta buildings. We have the museum streets. We have H Queens as the museum buildings. So this is more like the commercial side. So we're actually collectively, from the public sector to the commercial sector, we're all trying to bring all the most important art elements from all over the world to Hong Kong. And take a look at today, I think we have everybody. We have all the art lovers, good friends, all the world, across the region, from different backgrounds, and we're sitting together. I think we're all sitting here, not because of the speaker, it's about the topic, because we are all focusing on the future of Hong Kong. And apparently, Hong Kong as a world art and cultural center is the future. And we need to do this all together.
So while we're waiting for the next question, I do want to point out every time I have met Felix, he would always bring up how we can develop and nurture the local talents. And every time he always have his mentee with him. And in this case, Kayana from Hong Kong U. And the other times I always think, so education obviously is a big part of this. And you are advocates of growing up the local native kind of pipelines of talents for art markets. So what are some of the things that's lacking, or what are some of the things that should have been in place or could be in place for Hong Kong to reach that goal?
Yeah, that's a very important topic that we should touch on. So when we talk about the achievement of Hong Kong nowadays, we are undoubtedly the world top 3 art trading center. So New York, London, and Hong Kong always fighting for the second place. But, I mean, this is something we should be proud of, but this is not the end. Because when we compare Hong Kong versus New York, Paris, London, even Tokyo, we know we got the money, we got the transaction, but it's not everything about culture. If we want to make Hong Kong a real world cultural center, we need to do a lot more, especially on education. So if I look back to my career, I remember in the first year at Sotheby's, I was called king of photocopier, 收付俾影帝. Because when I first hired as a trainee of what we call the 20th century Chinese art department, there's no textbook knowledge about Chinese oil painting. Because when we talk about oil painting, it's coming from the Western concept. We study from Da Vinci to maybe Andy Warhol, right? But they won't really cover like Lin Fengmian, Jia Wuqi, San Yu. And on the other hand, when we talk about Chinese art, Tang Song, Yuan Ming Qing, right? We go through all the Chinese dynasties, and then we go to modern China. We talk about Zhang Daqian, we talk about Qi Baishi. Again, we forget the Chinese oil painting part. So it's like, nothing there. I remember except my textbook material called 20th Century China and Chinese Art by Michael Sullivan. We have limited textbook materials. So I need to do everything from the scratch. I remember in my first year at Sotheby's, my major achievement was scanning 185 copies of art books, catalogs, which became the foundation of the department archive, because we don't have money to buy books. So I scanned everything, and then one day, my good colleague teased me, saying that, hey, Felix, you are dating the photocopier. Because every day I'm like standing next to the photocopier and keep scanning the art books. I think this is where I started to think that if we want to make Hong Kong a great art hub, just having a strong transaction, it's not enough. We need to become a cradle of art ecosystem talent. Not just having good salespeople, not just having experts, but we need to provide good art education. If we compare our financial sector, we got the major universities, world-class universities, nurturing the best financial talents, and then they become, iBank, private bankers. But at least 10 years ago, our art education is not enough. That's why I think in the middle of my Sotheby's career, I told myself I should do something as far as I could. I should try to convert my frontline experience, how I get the deal, how I screw the deal, how we were successful, how we failed. We put all this together and became the frontline textbook materials, shared it with the industry people selflessly. So this is, I think, what I can try to do a little bit more, push myself a little bit harder.
Great. With that, I'm going to ask if there's any more questions from the floor. And with our last question, one more. Maybe both of you can ask the questions, and you first, and then a lady right there.
Okay, sure. Well, I'm Rishika. I was Felix's colleague for over a decade, so I know him very well. And I can attest to the fact that a lot of his decisions, including the decision of offering Picasso in Asia, was truly pioneering. And now, we're so spoiled. We go to an auction preview, we see Van Gogh, we see Chagall, but we don't realize that it all came from this one decision someone made with so much resistance, facing so much resistance, and taking that leap of faith and believing in the Asian market. So thank you for that. It's totally changed the landscape here in Hong Kong. And so while a lot of us in the art industry know you for these decisions, these strategic and curatorial and financial decisions that you've made, and I, as a colleague, know you as the photocopy king, but a lot of people in the outside community know Felix as an auctioneer. You'll see him in a lot of charity auctions, and he's actually known as the auctioneer that breaks his gavels. So if you can tell us a little bit more about your auctioneering journey. I think people don't realize how difficult it is to actually become an auctioneer, how technical it is. So if you can share a little bit more about that, that would be great. Thank you.
So we're going to go over a little bit of time. If you have to get to somewhere, feel free, but we'd love to listen to you. More of that, please.
Well, thank you, Rishika. It's such a pleasure to work with Rishika as a colleague for more than 10 years, all of which in the last 4 years, we worked really close together. So I would say the 4 world Vietnamese record, the decision is not coming from me, it's coming from her, because she has the expertise. She told me what to do, I just back her up, and just go, I'll cover you. That's what I did. So I think credit goes to Rishika, and this is the beautiful story of a Sotheby's man, because we are not working on our own. We're always having the best talent together and then create some miracles together. So speaking of auctioneering, it's exciting, it's iconic, it's easy to understand what one do in the auction house. I would say I really started as an auctioneer much later than I was as a specialist. So I started as a trainee in Sotheby's in 2012, but I didn't become an auctioneer in 2019. But I think I like being on the stage. I like to stand on the stage. I love the interaction between me and my guests. And I think I can do much more when I'm on the stage. I could fix the last minute problems. I can maximize the bids. I could avoid unsold scenarios and as many as possible. And I try to tell myself that, Felix, staying on the stage is cool, but you are not the star. You're the most humble person to serve the seller and the buyer. So this is every time when I go up to the stage, I don't want to be too self-centered. I always remember I'm on the stage to serve everybody. Out of my auctioneering career, I would say I have 2 major achievements in terms of commercial success. The 2 most expensive Chinese painting. The first one was sold in 2020. Like 1 day after being appointed as the head of modern, I went up to the stage and sold a Yuan Dynasty hand scroll. It started at 80 million Hong Kong. And then after a 75-minute battle, out of 120 bids, I sold it at 306 million Hong Kong. Sounds great, right? I am very unhappy about my performance because according to the auctioneering training, we should take all the money on the table as quick as possible. So it sounds cool, on the press release it says 120 minutes, 75 minutes, 120 bids, from 80 million to 306 million. But I'm not too happy about my efficiency. So 1.5 years later, I have the opportunity to handle the Zhang Daqian's landscape, 房王希望千里江山图. This time I told myself, do better preparation, finish it more efficiently. So I have a very deep conversation with the head of sale. I said, tell me what is your expectation. I know we can sell at 70 million, but that won't be where we end. And she said, okay, sell it at 200 million. It would be our expectation. Okay, I said, fine. Okay, I will reach 200 million Hong Kong. Afterward, that will be my game. So this time, I used 18 minutes, 18 minutes, to sell the painting from 70 million to 370 million. So I think this time, I'm happy. Very effective, very quick. Everybody get lunch. Last time, they didn't really get it, and I have a lot of complaints from my colleagues. So this time, I finished the bidding with very strong energy and applauded stage after stage, phase after phase. So I consolidate every time the competition and try to brief my phone bidders, my colleagues, and the clients behind where we are, what we are going to do, where we are at. So they end up really efficiently. I think this is the real achievement, I would say, because I auctioneered in a very impartial way. I managed it with very strong discipline. I keep my clients excited. I maximized my sellers' benefit from the auction in a very fair way.
With that, we have to end the session. Just like you mentioned, timing. We got to manage the timing and be efficient. Welcome to stay and talk to Felix. And with that, we really thank you for attending. And there are more luncheons and talks like this coming up. And do take a look at the brochure if you're interested in referring and inviting friends to join our club. So thank you very much, and thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.